Right, so what we are going to do right now is we are going to be beginning with the first panel discussion of the day. I'll quickly introduce the topic for you all. The topic for the panel discussion is going to be about Realty Plus Design Gurus to enlighten us on transforming spaces into stories. I'll repeat the topic once again for you all. This is going to be about Realty Plus Design Gurus to enlighten us on transforming spaces into stories. We'll need 5 chairs on stage. Thank you, Shukriya. So what I'm going to do, the format is going to be that I'm going to be doing each and every introduction. And once all the introductions are done, I'll request all the speakers to join me on stage together. So it's not like a one-by-one thing. I'll be doing all the introductions together. And then after that, I'll request everybody to join me on stage together. Thank you so much. What I'm going to do is I'm going to be first introducing our honorable moderator for the panel. She has expertise in assisting real estate companies to launch into the market, including Aditya Birla's Birla Estate and India Bulls. She was absolutely instrumental in DLF Project Primus as part of the new Gurugram vertical at Taj Hotels. She swiftly scaled up their mid-scale hotel segment all over the country. She's also established AG Strategic Management and Engineering Services Private Limited in the year 2023 that monitors projects for improved delivery and is also developing low-rise luxury residential in Delhi NCR on a collaboration model. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm talking about the one and only Dr. Ananya Gandotra. Big round of applause for her, please. Thank you. What I'm going to do is I'm going to be introducing our speakers now in alphabetical order. Our first speaker, she is a renowned interior designer and entrepreneur with an expertise of more than 3 decades, with her work being appreciated all over the country as well as abroad. Her registered campaign, Proud to be an Indian by Lipika is a step towards keeping that India's dying crafts alive. As founder president of the Guild of Designers and Artists, she has spearheaded many initiatives for the promotion and creation of platforms for designers, architects, and artists to share their expertise nationally and internationally. I'm talking about Lipika. Ladies and gentlemen, give her a big round of applause as well, please. Director and principal designer, Lipika Interiors Private Limited. Our next speaker has 3 decades of experience. Monika Choudhary, she leads the multidisciplinary practice operating across India with a vision to create timeless, human-centric spaces that seamlessly blend innovation, craftsmanship, and of course, environmental responsibility, sustainability being the need of the hour. She has represented her practice on global platforms, including the United Nations and the Dubai Expo as well. Under her leadership, Habitat Architects continues to push boundaries in shaping meaningful built environments. Please give it up for Monika Choudhary, co-founder and chief design officer, Habitat Architects. And our next speaker, ladies and gentlemen, has iconic designs for housing, hospitality, retail, office, and smart buildings, which have left a significant mark in the construction industry. He's a pioneer in green building design in India, and having started this journey with the design of the ITC Royal Gardenia, in Bengaluru, which at that time was recognized as the world's largest platinum-rated green hotel. He's also conceptualized and executed several avant-garde structures across India as well as globally. The hospitality projects designed by RKA comprise almost all Indian and international brands with projects in India as well as abroad. I'm talking about Mr. Rahul Kumar, principal architect, Rajinder Kumar Associates. Give a big round of applause for him as well, please. Thank you. And our next speaker, he is a luxury interior design and lifestyle brand specialist and has defined over 1,000 spaces across India and abroad, ranging from private residences and luxury penthouses to boutique hotels, retail spaces, and corporate offices. His journey began in the year 1992 when he was handpicked by Prince Charles to study at the Prince of Wales's Institute of Architecture in London, which was followed by the Oxford School of Architecture, UK. In the year 1997, he established Villa Ortiga, and over the decades, the practice has grown into a multidisciplinary studio offering architecture, interiors, bespoke furniture, and curated decor all under one roof. I'm talking about Sarabjit Singh, ladies and gentlemen, founder and architectural designer, Villa Ortiga. Can I please request our esteemed panelists, all of them over here on stage, and everybody over here in Delhi, can I please request all of you to clap loudly? The first panel discussion, let's set the tone right, please, everybody. Thank you so much. Warm welcome, ma'am. Bahut bahut shukriya. Thank you. Aram se, thank you. Shubhajit. Yeah. Pleasure, ma'am. Thank you. Thank you, ma'am. Pleasure. Pleasure. Hi. Thank you. I request all of you to take your seats as per the order. Maybe that would be a little more aesthetic. Everybody is concerned about aesthetics. Hi, sir. Pleasure. Thank you. Yeah, so I'll request all of you to sit as per the photo alignment. That would be a little helpful. Sorry for the inconvenience that you had to get up. This would be ideal, yeah.
Sorry, हमारे proportion की problem है.
No problem. And can we set the timer, please, for the first panel discussion so that our moderator is in check? And on that brilliant note, ladies and gentlemen, the first panel discussion, please, aur zor se tali ho sakti hai ki nahi? Come on, everybody. Yes. That's how we do it. And sir, over to you.
Hello. Thank you for the introduction. So we have all assembled today for the first session, and it's a very interesting topic, I think, which is close to most of us. And it is basically design gurus transforming spaces into stories. I'll just start by giving a quote by Hitarash Amara, and it goes like, "Change is inevitable, but transformation is a choice." I think this kind of sets the tone that any transformations that we are doing it because we have chosen to do it. Just to start, I'll just give a little, there are 3 key words in this panel discussion. And the first one, just to give a definition to set the tone of this, is the word transformation. And the definition is a marked change in form, nature, or appearance. It could be induced, spontaneous, it could be metamorphic, logical, or extraneous. The other word, which is space, can be, say, defined as a continuous area or expanse, which is free, available, or unoccupied. And the dimension of height, depth, and width within which all things exist or move. And the last one is stories. So it's a description, either true or imagined, of a connected series of events. Now, we have to be, when we are stringing all the 3 together, I think it's going to be a very interesting discussion from here on. So for the first question that I'm going to be asking all our panelists, actually it's open for all, is about, is design thinking and design process synonymous with a good outcome? Or is spontaneity works? So we can start with Rahul. What are your thoughts on design thinking and design process?
Thank you, Ananya. Thank you, Ananya. Thank you, Ananya. And thank you to Reality Plus for organizing this event. The way we organize ourselves for design projects these days, the design process is inevitable. It's always a much larger group, whether it's in your own design team, whether it's the client group or external project managers who help you make that whole project come alive. The process is something you can't escape. And I think it's important, very essential for any good design to come to life. Now, that doesn't mean it kills spontaneity. It's within that process, there are intervals where the spontaneity would come. And both can coexist. So you can have that immediate response to a design situation, to a site, and very often those the spontaneous reactions may come in your dreams or when you are at all odd places and not focusing on the work. But eventually, the process is something you can't escape. And I think it matures a design. It makes sure that it's viable to build. And there's no escaping it. Gone are the days where there was the master architect and there was a client and the 2 or 3 people took the decisions, though I must say sometimes that kind of a team combination produces wonderful results and very fast results. But Nowadays, as we work in much larger groups, the process is important, and I think it's required to create.
You want me to take over here?
Sure.
So I very much align with what Rahul had to say. For me, design is a combination of its choreography, and that choreography and maybe say jazz together, it has to have balance. It needs to have the balance of the rhythm of what we are looking at in process, but it does not work without that little spark which we call spontaneity. So I feel spontaneity and process are really two parts of the same coin. I do feel that when it comes to design, if we are all process, we might get boring a little. But if we are only talking of spontaneity and spark, the soul might be missing somewhere. The soul would be there, but the process might be missing somewhere. The finesse of the design will not be what it was, or it should be at that point. What do you have to say?
Yeah. Hello. Yeah. Hi. I can be heard, right? Wow. So Rahul and Monika are absolutely spot on when they say that spontaneity is just so important. My answer right now is also going to be very spontaneous. I really don't know what I'm going to tell you. But yeah, with lived experiences that I have, I can tell you, especially in the new normal, gone are days when things were happening totally through a process. You had teams to, give out certain ideas. There were people to execute it, put it on paper, draft it all together. I think it's just so important to be able to understand yourself as a designer and to be able to understand your client. It's so necessary to think out of the box. That spontaneity of choosing something different, something which has not been done before. The spark, as Monika mentioned, has to be there, and that's what keeps the whole creativity, the process going. And it makes life and living in a space is so much more beautiful, be it a building, be it an interior. I think that spontaneity is today the key to be able to live well, to live better, to live and think forward. What do you have to say, Sarabjit?
So I think spontaneity is dead. It's over. We have everything is rehearsed. Projects take very, very long to come to fruition. Design as itself has been, very, very diluted with access to media and things like that. The good news, though, is that good design is easily noticeable, even by people who are not in the field, who are not architects, who are not designers. They notice good design. They understand that there are overlays where things work at a certain level. And so I actually believe that design, architectural design, interior design, and design that has a structure to it is not really a spontaneous process. I think it is a process of overlaying. It's a very mature process. And it is a process that we owe it to people who will experience our designs to be able to experience that quality that we offer. And I don't see the role of people who are not so closely associated with the design business to be a very high role, because they are only experiencers. And we don't believe that the experiencer can really govern the process of design. I think that is entirely in our domain. And it is to do with the lobby of designers, architects, to create enough of a weight that our designs are pushed through in a structure that allows them to come to fruition. So it allows a whole design process that we should control the design process. So we control the experience of the end user. And because we should have a mastery on it, it is there for them to enjoy. And when you come into a building which has layers of design, from architectural design to interior design, to the furniture, to the lighting, you can see it all come together in a way which is beyond the expectation of the experiencer, beyond the expectation of the user. And that process takes time. It has time built into it. And time of design, time of deliveries, time of manufacture, time of construction. So I don't see architectural design, building design, interior design, specifically related to real estate to be a spontaneous process.
It is a balance. It has to be a balance, I feel.
Absolutely. You see, the spontaneity comes only at the stage of the ideation. The spontaneity is about you as a designer being spontaneous enough to be able to recognize the spontaneity or the needs of the consumer who's going to live in that space. Most often, if the process is so driven by facts and figures, as my dear friend Sarabjit mentioned, and it's also process driven, then it all becomes totally in a box. Very often you would find a lot of the designers doing multiple projects, but you can enter that space or see that building and you know it's that person's or that designer's work. Why does it have to be like that? Why can't the project reflect the consumer or the client and not the designer? I think it's very important to start rethinking what is this whole design process all about. I think it's important to give the client or the consumer or the customer the more of a respect and not be on the high horse of saying, I am the designer, I understand the process, I will figure out what needs to be done, and therefore this is the systems that need to be followed, and therefore you will be able to enjoy your space so much better. Hey, that's not true anymore. He's a guy who's today, the customer, the consumer is so well traveled. He's seen the world. He knows what he wants. Images are there in the tip of his fingers on Pinterest and so many other places. He probably knows much more than you know and I know as designers. So why don't we give them that respect and that spirit of working on it together in tandem? And as Monika rightly says, it has to be a huge balance. It's that tango. She talked about dance. Both the partners have to dance equally well for the whole process to come out beautifully well. So that's where my take is about spontaneity. And I think not only in design, I think in life in general, we need to have that spontaneity. Come on, guys, let's stop being so boring. Monika.
Okay, so great to have a counter opinion on some things. My two-bit is that, to my mind, while technology is so great, but it does, get into the way of spontaneity. So the more and more you're aligned and you're actually working on with technology, it becomes very process-oriented. And from a creativity standpoint, I think going back to the board or using the pencil or the pen, I think that's very critical. Okay, so moving on to the next question. This is going to be for Rahul. Again, I like to just interject with little quotes. So this one is, I'm stating from Albert Einstein, and he said, once we accept our limits, we go beyond them. So next question is basis on limits that we have. So Rahul, my question to you is, in your design practice, how do you take up the challenge of site, client requirements, budgets, but still be able to generate quality design? Can you also give us an example where you have successfully been able to maneuver everything and come out with a fantastic outcome?
I think the easiest way to do that is put yourself in the shoes of the team that commissions you. And a lot of these things will come naturally to you. The shape of the site, the budget that you have, the time that you need to come. I mean, put yourself in their shoes and imagine yourself that you have to go through that with a team of designers. It's the easiest way, and all of these things don't become challenges anymore or constraints. They just flow. And I think that's the easiest way to see them. I mean, the more you see them as constraints, more challenging it becomes. We had the good fortune of doing an Indian Institute of Management in Nagpur just a little before COVID time. In fact, we had to finish it just before the COVID period started, and kids had to move from a existing group of hostel buildings in another university to move in there. And then suddenly there was nobody to finish that building, and we were done 80-85%. Budgets were a lot lesser than what an institute like that gets. In fact, I used to keep going through some of their management meetings where they said that we didn't get enough funds to do what, let's say, campuses of this scale gets. So we had to make several changes at that time because half the materials were shipped in and the other half, there was no way to get them to site. But as we were just discussing on spontaneous. I mean, yes, you can get spontaneous in the ideation stage, but many a times when you are forced with these challenges, you got to come up with creative options. And we managed to make all the buildings look pretty similar to each other, but they're completely different in material usage, detailing, etc. But from a distance, you feel you're in the same campus. So, you know, that long period of time that Sarabjit mentioned too, that also gives you enough challenges and throws things at you where immediately you got to come up with creative solutions. And we managed to finish that campus, get everybody in, was very well received by the President of India and the whole current cabinet of Maharashtra. Many of the Chief Minister was there. It was wonderful. It was wonderful seeing that come to life and seeing students walk in. So it's not very difficult. You just have to put yourself in the shoes of the people who are kind of creating that whole vision.
Do you know, if I just interject here and just
sure.
add something to what
Sure.
he said. Constraints are something for designers, it's a part and parcel of the work that we do. I feel it literally is a raw material for creativity, and that is what differentiates one project from the other, as Rahul just put through. We are all building in brick and mortar or few more new things nowadays. But if there isn't we work under design brief. We call it a design brief. I mean, you want to call it a constraint, you can. Yes, everything has to be built with a budget, with some kind of thought process, with the kind of design ideology. The way Lipika said that people come with their Pinterest boards, they are very well traveled, and that I don't think that's a challenge enough, but it is actually a pleasure to have clients who understand what as designers you want to talk about. And we quite enjoy the process when we have the client ahead of us who comes with a much clearer mind. And then the design grows from there. So that can be looked upon as a constraint of the look that the person is following, or one can look at it as literally a raw material for the creative process that I'm going to put across.
Absolutely. Meaning, I think the most often used word in developers thing is value engineering. It's like really, used so often. And I think the cost sometimes becomes a very critical element. And the trick is, and the creativity and spontaneity that we are talking about comes when you can, still retain the design intent with a half the budget from where you started. So now moving on to my next question. This is to Lipika and Sarah, but I'm sure others can join in. Is during ideation stage, what are the most critical aspects for considerations according to you? So perhaps we can start with Sarah, and then we'll go to Lipika.
So I'm not one for imagery. Pinterest imagery, media imagery is very misleading, and it trivializes the kind of effort and depth that design actually has. And a lot of images are even AI rendered. They're not really honest images. They are made up images. And if you have a client sharing with you images and videos, he's going to try and look at a solution very fast because he's buying into that image. But to make that image into a reality, to deliver what all is in an image and to bring it is a different field. So we are very far away right now with, media exposure, social media, Pinterest, and a whole range of sites and videos that allow clients, customers, experiencers to buy into imagery. And then when they come to a professional, they want you to reproduce that imagery or add to the imagery in some way. It is a very challenging time because that imagery is made through technology. It's instantaneous, it's gratifying, but the design process is completely different. The goods that go into it, the time, the cost, the curation of goods, design, ideas, lighting, is a vast field that creates that imagery. And no one has the patience to go through it, especially clients. And we hate it when they travel, because they travel, they come back with another image. So the images are getting overlaid, things are getting distracted, and actually the essence of design, which should be empowering first to the designer, actually gets diluted through something. So we're excited about imagery, just for an instant. Imagery in its very nature is also fleeting. An image is fleeting. It's there today. It could be something else tomorrow. It could be something else the day after. So imagery is misleading. We would like things to be much more rooted, anchored in design, sensibility, in depth, requirement, comfort, accessibility, and a long-term perspective, because design has to last long. Even architectural design doesn't have an element of a pop-up. It's not a pop-up show. It's something that will be with you for a long period of time. And we find a lot of impatience with clients to do with deliveries and things like that. They've not thought about the process, that what it's going to take to design and deliver this whole thing. So we really want to push people back into reality. People who are buying real estate, look to remodel what real estate is, what real estate they receive from a developer. We're looking to, in fact, we do show homes for developers where we want people to visualize the space, the entire apartment or the entire space that they are buying completely before they actually go ahead and make that purchase. So they don't have to remodel or revisit everything so many times. So we are trying on our end to, redefine this imagery, this very enticing imagery thing, and we're just making a start.
God bless you and the firm. We all need it.
So, Sarabjit, it's nice to hear your thoughts and ideas. I have traveled that path maybe 10 years, 20 years ago. Now in my 30th or perhaps my 40th year of practice now. Honestly, what I apply in my practice now is the Pareto's law. Do you know what the Pareto's law is? It's about communicating with your clients. It's about the 80-20 rule. Today, communicating with clients means you listen to them, what they require, 80% of the time, and speak only 20%. Because that 80%, when you're listening to them, you're understanding their needs, their aspirations, their desires, their thoughts. That is when you're actually creating a visual in your own head. And that 20% then, which you end up talking first and then translating the vision of the customer onto the board, and then finally transferring it into reality through processes that designers like myself or Sarabjit and the other esteemed panelists sitting here apply in a processed manner, gives fruition to their dreams. So let us not be impatient, quote unquote, Sarabjit, with our clients. Let us not try to push them back, quote unquote, Sarabjit, into dream spaces of sample apartments and interiors and say, hey, this is it. Take it or leave it. No, sorry, it doesn't work like that. Today, I encourage my clients to travel. Quote unquote, Sarabjit, who says we hate it when they travel. I encourage my clients to pick up things from across the globe, which has their own identity, because it speaks about their identity, their culture, their likes and dislikes. Because the spaces that are created, especially the residential spaces, talk about who they are on an everyday basis. The comfort factor, the feel-good, the stories, the memories that spaces create for them, which they live in on an everyday basis. Does not talk about who the designer was and how much he got paid for his design fee and how impatient the designer was while doing his home. But it talks about his identity, his personality in the space that he's occupying. And the same goes true for a commercial project like hospitality, where it's the user's experience. You have to listen to the client to understand what his brand identity is, what is the vision of the company, what is the experience that a hotel wants to give from the time a person checks in to the time he checks out, and how seamless that experience is, and how he can build memories around that experience, irrespective of what the brand is and how much money he has paid and what the materials, quote unquote, is. A material is irrelevant as long as the feel-good factor is supremely high. And that, my dear friends, today in the new normal, we need to work towards. It's not easy, it's hard. The easy way out is, yes, of course, as my friend says, have processes, have templates, forget about ideas and ideations from the client who might have seen some beautiful home somewhere and says, "Mujhe to aisa hi chahiye." Yes, of course they will say. We have to maneuver the technical aspects of their dreams and aspirations, tell them what is possible and what is not possible. I'm not saying everything that the customer says is God and right, but at the same time, if on the day of the inauguration of either a commercial project or a residential project, if the client is proud of saying he designed the project or she designed the project along with the designer, that I feel is the true success of a project. Thank you.
Very diverse, I think, opinions. Great to have that, actually. My next question would be specifically to Rahul and Monika after that. The question stands as, can you provide us an example from your design journey where the spaces were transformed because of the story that they could tell?
Well, it's always a kind of a visual story that you're trying to express through design. Many a times it remains in your own head or your group of team that's designing it. You're never there to talk about it all the time, because once the building opens, everybody's there, they come at a time, you're never there to. And so while I think a narrative is very important in design, and it's a constant dialogue that keeps happening in your mind when you're sketching or thinking about it, in reality, that visual story must speak for itself and without the spoken word. Sometimes you're successful, sometimes you're not, and you have people experiencing it from all different backgrounds. It may not strike everybody on day one, but sometimes your 10th visit, you may see what that story is. I think one of such designs that comes to my mind is the Imperial Hotel in Delhi that our firm did many years ago. I remember as a young child what the Imperial Hotel used to be. It was a favorite haunt of the hippie movement, and people used to be there all the time in the coffee shop there. And then we got this opportunity to redo that whole hotel, including adding some floors to a structure which doesn't have any concrete. So built sometimes in the 30s and 40s, the bricks that came out had the year 1920 or 1930 written on them. So it was a very challenging one, but at the end of the day, it expressed a story. It had hints of an Art Deco building, but it wasn't a good-looking Art Deco building. And in some way, the architecture, facades, interiors all came together to express a story which, as much of a modern architect as I like to be and want to be, I admire that design immensely. And whenever I visit that, I think it says a whole story the minute you enter the gates. And that's something I think is important, that visual story which is there. And sooner or later, people will like to, they enjoy that whole environment of that building that you do.
And I absolutely love that hotel now. If I didn't earlier. I mean, I'm sure most of us can say that, who come from the School of Design at any point. Absolutely. So if I have to talk about this, I would say story is something which comes in the narrative, in the beginning, in the brief. And it is the one which stays till the end of it. How truthful you are to the concept and the story that you are building in your mind, and which is in sync with your person or the team which has commissioned it. We've done a few projects where the story has been very important and paramount for us. If I go back to Punjab, once upon a time we had a client from a completely different industry who wanted to get into the space of F&B and hoteliering and creating a placemaking kind of a space for the streets and for the highway of Punjab. So when they came to us, they came with an idea about budgets, about they want that much revenue to come in, and that particular road is very popular, it works very hard. And those were some good times where people did not come with a Pinterest image, but still came with a spoken idea. And I think for our firm, it was a pleasure to start a storyline of sitting in Punjab on a highway which has dhabas, to create a space which was more resorty, a space for people to, they could relate to it. We went back and we studied the entire region to understand a very large percent of people had already gone abroad, and they were the ones which were NRIs who came in here to spend a lot of money. So what we created there was literally a mini Punjab. We created a heritage space which started from a small area. Now it is one of the largest that it has there, and the story goes as far as the Punjabi rooting, the heritage. And for years and years, we have people who come back to us, and we've made 10 of them across the country now, very true to its regional heritage. The people come back to us and say, okay, our children did not want to come back to India. Now we get them back to show them what was the glory of that place, what was the glory of, say, Punjab at that point, because we could manage to put that across, convince the client, and he was such a fantastic person. And he kind of became that patron of the old times who kind of got sold with the story, and he says, yes, let's create that for Punjab. Let's create a space where the culture comes together. Let's make it into a place-making space where we can remember and relate to this. That was such an interesting process for us. It was not just a story, it brought crafts together, it brought the old. So we put Nanak Shahi bricks, if you guys have. I mean, we do have brick kilns, which we do, but we were told to kind of, even as a team, we all ideated. We had young and old people in the team, and they said, okay, do you know, ma'am, I don't know how much of you understand Punjabi, but I'm in North. So they said, mere pind ch bahut sare eho je jagah hegi hai jithe the houses are breaking, and it has this most beautiful handmade kiln bricks. So we actually traveled there to see, and we realized that there is this thing called Nanak Shahi bricks, which is almost wiped out of Punjab. We bought, our patron was fantastic. He went and bought those houses, built new houses for them. We started the concept of pasting them on the walls. That's how the concept of Haveli started. And the story went deeper and deeper and more culturally rooted. And it kind of also gave us a lot of thought process on how we evolved as designers.
Projects that you guys are talking are fantastic and reminiscent of not just the process, but the user experience. My last question is based on that, and just to quote Anas Nin, we don't see things as they are, we see them as we are. So the perception of the same space can be different for different people. So my question is now open to all, and since we have just enough time, we'll just keep it short, is how important is it to connect user experience with the final product? Is narration of visual story and human experience play an active role? So we can start from Sarab and then we can go down, yeah.
Yeah, so, as you know, I have strong views on this topic, and I think everyone who experiences design has an impression of design. They have an opinion. And for a long time, that opinion has not been regarded. But I think with media, one good aspect of it is that you can ask for reviews. You can ask for people to also post reviews to do with projects which are in the public realm. Could be hospitality related, could be commercial, and even private, residences. People have opinion and they do share it. I think that is a very important way to get feedback and to learn this process of how to enhance your next design and how to take into some of the democratic views that Lipika has. She's a very democratic person, which is nice. we are a democracy, which is good, and she's a very fair person, which is also nice. So we don't believe that too much freedom is a good thing. We think that the responsibility lies squarely with us. We are responsible, and we are responsible for the delivery, and we have to guide the process, and that role of leadership is one of great rigor, and then at the end of the project to be able to stand up to a review. How did you like what we did for you? What is your view on this? And you'll be surprised, people are able to really put it down into words a lot better than before. And the sophistication of design today is easily understandable by people. That is the best part. In 1 minute, a guy will tell you, he reads the space, he reads it, even when he's not from this background, but is from, a level of society where they are able to have and give you feedback. So that is, I think, really the future of this, what feedback we can take.
Sure. Very quickly, because the time's
The
up.
question is about user experience. I think user experience is the heart, the soul, the bottom line of what any project is, anything that is designed. It's nothing about the material alone or the textures or the way it has been designed. It is that one word called how do you feel after you see a space or in a space. How do you feel is the first thing that you see in a building. And that feeling is critical. That is user experience. And that, if you can win whichever way, without having to impose yourself as a famous designer, architect, or whatever, if we can keep our egos back home and design for the end user and give him the kind of user experience which makes him feel on top of the world when he's using that space each and every day. That, my dear friend, I feel is true user experience.
Stakeholders listening carefully, intently, is literally the blueprint for design, I feel. And I heard the thing is closing, so.
Well, we're all designing these buildings, but at the end of the day, there's only that much interaction once its users come in. And I think from experience, you'll see if the building gets or the space gets configured differently in a very short time, you kind of realize that it wasn't really suitable for all the inhabitants of that space. And if you keep kind of visiting your buildings again and again, you kind of see that happening. So user experience is absolutely, it's wonderful to see. You may have designed it thinking 10 things in mind, but the way people come, especially younger users of a building, they just use it in a very different way. And I take once again the example of IIM at Nagpur. When the students came in, the way they started using that building and the way they posted comments on the social media, I think everybody was shocked, including their management, the faculty, but it was wonderful. It was absolutely wonderful, the way the students expressed. And these are students or management students, not much of a design background, but the way they expressed themselves was wonderful, and it gives you that encouragement to keep doing and doing better for them.
You all panelists for a very, I would say, invigorating discussion. And I'll just close this session by quoting Tony Robbins, who said, "Transformation is not a destination. It's a journey of continuous growth and self-discovery." So I think we should all continue to transform the space and enjoy the process. Thank you all.
Come on, Delhi. This was the first panel. We can clap a lot louder, yeah? Don't we? Yeah, that's how we do it. Thank you so much. Before we wrap up, we have a bandwidth for one question. So if anybody is willing to ask a question, please feel free to raise your hands. The typical school method where we raise hands and teachers ask questions. Sir, over to you. Please direct whom your question is.
Yeah, all are experts. You have a design. You sketch on the paper. But end of the day, it is not developer not designed what you desire, what you design. So you feel regret or you feel, how do you take this situation?
Deep regret. We feel deep regret, very deeply, if our designs are not appreciated or there is no understanding of what we want to go ahead with. And unfortunately, no one is putting pen to paper anymore. It starts with imagery and it goes into a very detailed proposal. I don't think sketches are really happening too much. Lipika?
I think it's so important to put pen on paper, pencil on paper, without sketching, without doing all kinds of things. AI and so many other things can only limit our ideas. The true designs actually come when we put our brain, translate that into on paper and sketch it out. Yes, I agree that there could be different thought processes by the client. They could come up with some other ideas, but we should be open to accepting it. What is this big ego about कि मेरा ही design है, मेरा ही सब कुछ अच्छा है, मैं ही सब कुछ. We should be always be open to learning. I think sometimes, and in a lot of times it has happened, the client has actually taught me a lot of things. They have told me that listen, हम ऐसे ऐसे घर में रहते थे, ऐसे ऐसे था, उनकी photos भी दिखाए, मेरे को भी सीखने को मिला. Just because I'm a designer and I've got some 30-40 years experience doesn't mean I can't learn anymore. In fact, today the youngsters teach me much more, the Gen Z. We need to learn from them. Forget about just learning how to operate our mobile phones. They can teach us so much more because they've been born with that technology. And that technology is definitely we need to understand and embrace. And that is the only way we can grow. So yes, it definitely feels bad if some sketch is being done, sir, like I'm answering to your question, कि भाई अच्छा नहीं लगा, but so what? Let's be open to learning in more ways, more styles.
In my personal view, there are 5 people involved in the project. The designer, the developer, architecture, the financer and the consumer, the customer. And all are not having the same mind. Different thoughts, different process. You say yellow color, they say the pink color. They say the light color also. The material, the color, the design, the size. Some say, I want a big lobby. Some say, no, room will give me the revenue. So I want a small lobby, but a room to increase.
सर पेशेंस वाली बात है. पेशेंस बिल्ड करना पड़ता है. टोनी रॉबिन्स के कुछ और इवेंट्स अटेंड करके अपना माइंडसेट पहले ठीक करना पड़ता है, देन सो दैट वी आर एबल टू स्पंज इन द कस्टमर्स माइंडसेट. सरबजीत जैसे कह रहे हैं पेशेंस नहीं होता है, वी डोंट हैव दैट पेशेंस. पेशेंस बिल्ड करना पड़ता है, धक्के खा के ही इंसान सीखता है. यू हैव टू बी पेशेंट. बच्चा पैदा होता है पेशेंट हो, बच्चे माँ बाप पेशेंट कैसे हो जाते हैं? पहले तो नहीं होते थे ना इतने पेशेंट. दुनिया सिखा देती है पेशेंस. सो पेशेंस से सबको, ऑल द स्टेक होल्डर्स हैव टू बी ब्रॉट अराउंड ऑन द टेबल एंड देन फाइनली ब्रॉट टू अ पॉइंट वेयर सबके साइन आप ले लीजिए एंड देन bring in the systems and then create on that, because of course timelines are important, budgets are important, everything is important. वो सब तो करना ही पड़ेगा, that's part of the deal. But जहाँ डिज़ाइनिंग की डिस्कशन हो रही है, the topic here is about how we can build spaces into stories. तो वो कहानी तो ज़रूरी है गढ़नी सर, नहीं तो सब कुछ एक जैसा दिखने लग जाएगा अगर एक टेम्पलेट के हिसाब से चलेंगे. तो वहाँ थोड़ा सा माइंड चेंज करके बिना लड़े how to navigate with your client is an art. So designing is both an art and a science. तो वो वाला art थोड़ा सीखना पड़ेगा I guess, and we will have, it happens with practice.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, sir, for the question. Thank you, ma'am, for that answer. Please give him a big round of applause. And we'll take one last quick question, ma'am, from your end, because we have to start the next panel. We'll request to keep the panelists' answer crisp.
First of all, congratulations on an excellent panel. I really agree with Lipika's view that you must listen to users. Now, coming to the story and the narrative that you're talking about, now, people with disabilities have been out of the story for a long time as far as architecture, design, and real estate is concerned. So what happens is that retrofitting is what is being done, looked at, despite the fact that NBC 2016 and HGSS 2021 all have laid down binding principles for designers, architects, and everybody to follow as far as making accessible spaces are concerned. So my question to you is, how are you looking at bringing accessibility right in the design stage?
If anyone is not looking at accessibility at the design stage, I think all us as designers will implore that all of us must do it. This is the need. It's not a frivolous question of modern design. It's a question about clear requirement. And this is the least, I think all of us here will.
I think it's a very, very important issue in building design. We were a little fortunate that since we do hospitality design, some of these came quite early into our practice because of, let's say, the ADA Act followed in the US. So it was mandatory to do buildings like that. But it helped us to get those same practices into other institutional, corporate, or residential buildings. Our rules are still very nascent. What we have to follow as bylaws or what is described by the National Building Code, though it's improved. You see a lot more clauses that, you may not get a sanction to use that building if you don't. But I think the need of the hour is to learn more about disabilities. And we did a university in Mohali called Plaksha, where we had the benefit of having specialist consultants who could educate all of us about the kinds of disabilities, one which normally you can never imagine. And it's, I think, so important. It's just like we have a facade consultant today. We need somebody in every project. It really is required. And I think our buildings, all of them should, yes, it's more difficult. It's cumbersome to design. It's more cumbersome to build. But it is so, so important.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for that question. Thank you so much, sir, for that answer. And can I have a big round of applause for all of them, please? I'll request all of you to please kindly stand over here for a special group photo. What I'm going to do is I'm going to be requesting the director of Private Limited. What I'll do is I'll say without the mic. I think that's better, right? I'll request Anuj Saxena, Associate Director, Operations, Victoria Lift Private Limited, to please kindly come up on stage and give the token of appreciation to all our speakers over here. Can we have the token of appreciation over here, please? Thank you. I love using this popular film line. It's called Itna Sannata Kyun Hai Bhai. Can you please avoid all the sannata and clap? Audio check 1, 2, 3. Yeah. Do a group photo after all of them are done. Thank you so much. Please clap and appreciate. Continue the momentum, everybody, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you to all of you for taking time and adding value to our event. We truly appreciate your efforts. Thank you. And we need one more. Thank you. Shukriya. Thank you so much. Are we done? Thank you so much. Now we'll do a nice group photo, including our... yeah. Thank you so much. You can keep the appreciation going, ladies and gentlemen. I'm sure the smiles will widen a little more when the photos are being taken. Thank you. And the spotlight is on you for all the incredible work that you all have done. And we look forward to seeing all of you. Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you so much. Thank you. Pleasure indeed.